Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Madera City Council. Today is Wednesday, March the 1st, 2023. It is 6 p.m. The Madera City Council meetings are open to the public. This meeting will also be available for public viewing and participation through Zoom. Members of the public may also observe the live stream meeting on the city's website at www.madera.gov/live. Members of the public may comment on agenda items at the meeting or remotely through an electronic meeting via phone by dialing 669-900-6833. Enter ID 853-5557-9778 hashtag. Comments will also be accepted via email at citycouncilpubliccomments@madera.gov or by regular mail at 205 West 4th Street, Madera, California, 93637. We now call this, I hereby call this regular meeting of the Madera City Council to order. It is 6 o'clock. Alicia, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Garcia?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Here.
Councilmember Gallegos?
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez? He was with us just a short time ago.
He's driving.
Councilmember Montes?
Here.
Councilmember Evans?
Here.
And Councilmember Villegas?
I'm here.
Thank you very much, Alicia. I will now make an announcement regarding Councilmember Rodriguez. The City Council has received notice from Councilmember Rodriguez that he will participate in today's meeting via teleconference, as he will be in Sacramento on official business of the City of Madera County Transportation Commission. Based on this, the just cause requirements under the Brown Act Government Code 54953, which came into effect on January 1st, 2023, per AB 2449, has been met. The city meets all other requirements for this teleconference meeting. All council votes will be taken by roll call. Would you please rise for the invocation led tonight by Pastor Mark Unger, First Baptist Church of Madera.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for blessing us with your presence here with the Madera Ministerial Association. We appreciated you coming. We thank you, Lord Jesus. We praise you, and we're thankful for all that you do for our community. I have one gentleman on my left and another gentleman on my right, dressed in blue, who do things for this community that most of the rest of us are not willing to do. That is to lay their lives on the line every day. We thank you for them. It is my understanding, and I know little of this, but it's my understanding that this evening it'll come up in this meeting, something to do with a $40,700 some odd grant for the wellness of our police officers. And I thank you and praise you that that is afoot, for they are a minister of God to us for good. And we're thankful to live in a community where they, I hope and pray, get the respect that they deserve. Now, for the other things that come up and for those who are leading this meeting, Lord, I pray for wisdom. You have said if they cry for discernment, if they lift their voice for understanding, if they seek your wisdom as silver and search for your wisdom as for hidden treasures, then they would discern the fear of the Lord. They would discover the knowledge of God, because you're the one who gives wisdom. And from your mouth come knowledge and understanding. Thank you that you store up sound wisdom for the upright, and that you are a shield for those who walk in integrity, guarding the paths of justice, and that you preserve the way of your godly ones. Then we pray these on the city council, our mayor, our police officers, and our chief would discern righteousness and justice and equity and every good course. We ask these things in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and for his sake and the sake of our community. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Would you all please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mayor Pro Tem Elsa Mejia.
Ready?
Thank you for those words, kind words. We will now move on to the approval of the agenda. I will ask my colleagues if they have any changes or additions to the agenda. Hearing none, seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
Motion to approve the agenda by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Villegas. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes? Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
The council will recognize that Councilmember Jose Rodriguez has joined the meeting. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. And before the meeting goes any further, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to ask our legal counsel if my camera needs to be on at all times. I just want to make sure. If not, I'm stationed here, but I don't mind pulling over, making sure that I have to have my camera on.
You do have the camera on now, and you should keep it on while you're attending the meeting. And just for the record, you had noted you were attending that conference, and that you are still in part of that conference. You're actually returning from that conference, and that's why you're not here. That is correct, right?
That is correct, and that's why I'm driving back. But again, I just wanted to make sure that my camera needs to stay on at all times, or when I make a motion or a vote.
Yes, at all times.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. We will now move on to public comment. The first 15 minutes of the meeting are reserved for members of the public to address the council on items which are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers will be asked but are not required to identify themselves and state the subject of their comments. If the subject is an item on the agenda, the mayor has the option of asking the speaker to hold a comment until that item is called. Comments on items listed as a public hearing on the agenda should be held until the hearing is opened. The council is prohibited by law from taking any action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and the no adverse conclusion should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. Is there anyone in the public who would like to make public comment? If so, please step up to the podium. Seeing none. Alicia, do we have any written public comment?
We have no written public comment, Mayor.
Mark, do we have any Zoom comments? Mr. Nick Salinas, how are you, brother?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. Members of the council. Nick Salinas, resident here within the city of Madera. And tonight I come before you as a member of the Moores Board. I'd like to start by sharing my fellow board member and colleague, Mr. Supervisor Rob Poitras, did plan on being here this evening to share some great news. Unfortunately, he's also tied up in county business in Sacramento. This information is in regard to the Esperanza Village Housing Project. Soon we'll be exiting the construction financing phase and transitioning into a permanent financing structure. This said, thanks to the frugal work of yourselves and your fellow council members, along with the Moores Board and Pacific West, I'm very happy to share we will be realizing a total estimated cost savings due to construction to the amount of $945,000. Those monies will be returned to the city of Madera, and in particular allocated towards your housing element, in which you can direct those funds to be used for future housing developments within the city of Madera. Our projected close date in terms of getting the documents recorded and title updated is at the end of this month. I'd like to thank you for your service and your partnership on this project. I hope it's one of many projects to come in the future. And I'd like to thank all of you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? I do not see any. So we will then close public comment, and we will now move on to, and there are no written communications. We will now move on to presentation. This presentation is on behalf of the American Red Cross. Gerald, would you please step up here, please? This is a proclamation declaring this month as American Red Cross Month. We are a happy partner with the American Red Cross at all times. This comes from the Office of the Mayor on behalf of the Madera City Council, that we, on this day, March 1st, 2023, declare that this month is American Red Cross Month.
Thank you very much, Mayor Garcia.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Gerald Goldstein. I'm the Central Valley Red Cross chair. I would like to thank Mayor Garcia and all Madera City Council members for proclaiming that March is Red Cross Month. I'd also like to recognize one of our volunteers who's here. Sir, if you don't mind coming up. So there are many things that go on here in the Valley, specifically here in Madera, the city, but also the county. The Red Cross is involved. Me personally, I've been involved in multiple campaigns here. Sound the Alarm was something I did over the summer, in which we installed smoke detectors in Madera residents' homes. And I think this next year we're going to loop back around, and Madera is going to be another very large part of what we do here at the Red Cross. Sir, if you don't mind coming close. Trying to get you on camera. Oh, do you have any words to say?
No, just thank you. That's it. We're glad to be here.
All right, that's it. Mayor Garcia, council members, thank you very much.
Come on up and take a picture with the council. I didn't know that the American Red Cross is sponsored by the government. Yeah. Pretty sure the colors. Oh my. Thank you very much. Garcia. Yeah. That's a good one. Thank you very much for that. And we will now move on to item number 2, Downtown Madera Arts District. Rochelle Noblet has a presentation to make.
Trying to get it going. Second here.
Hello, everyone. I am Rochelle Noblet, and long time, born and raised in Madera. When I was accepting the Humanitarian of the Year award at MLK last month, I spoke about a project I've been kicking around in my head for the last 5 years. And after my speech, Mayor Santos Garcia was nice enough to invite me here to show this short video of the project. And I'd like to thank him for that. And I'd like to thank Lex Bufford and John Barsotti for showing up tonight. And they are longtime members with me of the Downtown Association. Alicia has a short facts sheet to introduce myself to those I haven't had the pleasure of meeting. It shows some of the other downtown and community projects which I've initiated and completed over the years. It also has my phone number. Since Mayor Garcia has asked that I don't take any questions this evening, please take notes and give me a call, as I'd love to discuss it with you. I've pretty much spent my entire adult life trying to improve downtown Madera. My parents opened Pete's Sports Shop when I was 5 years old, so I grew up downtown. Downtown in the 50s and 60s was a busy place with dress shops, menswear stores, children's boutiques, shoe stores, gift shops, jewelry stores, grocers, banks, stationery stores, our full-line sports shop, and a JCPenney department store. We even had a movie theater and several restaurants. When I took over running Pete's Sports Shop in 1979, I immediately began promoting downtown. I even started with an event I put on all by myself. I called it the Mega Festival. I was a founding member of the Madera Downtown Association and served as its president for over 10 years and promotions director for over 20. You'll see on that sheet some of the projects I've been involved with. By the 90s, many of downtown stores had moved or closed, and Pete's Sports Shop, now, which is no longer has retail, and Layton's Jewelers are all that remain from downtown's heyday. The Downtown Association has done what it can with very limited funding that comes from property and business owners taxing ourselves. We are now at a point where meaningful change can happen with new money coming downtown. I have envisioned a transformation beginning with the alleyways between C and D Street off of 6th Street. This short video is the best I can do to illustrate what I have in my head. It would be the DOMA Arts District, DOMA being an acronym for Downtown Madera. I've even designed a logo for it that you'll see in the video. It could become a gathering place for Maderans, featuring an outdoor event center, transforming what is the parking lot by day into pickleball courts in the evening, surrounded by food, drink, and public art. If you're not familiar with pickleball, it is now the fastest growing sport in the country, combining tennis, table tennis, and badminton. It's easy to learn, easy to play, and attracts children and seniors like myself alike, as it is not hard on the joints. Alicia, can we start the video now? You are seeing from 6th Street. This would be a rooftop sculpture garden and possible future lounge. Now we're walking from 6th Street towards TJ's Bar and Grill. That arched window down there is TJ's. We'll be seeing large 8-foot tall artwork. This shows pickleball courts and the artwork on the building behind the parking lot. Tables and chairs would be around for people to enjoy refreshments while they're waiting to play or watching the games. This is more of the artwork. You're seeing the logo on colorful banners. This is the alleyway going towards C Street. It's Romeo's Furniture Building. You're seeing big 8-foot by 12-foot. Again, these are changeable artworks, not something that's going to be up for 20 years. I was the executive director of the Madera County Arts Council for 3.5 years, during which time I increased membership 6-fold, increased visitors and donations exponentially, and scored perfectly on grant writing, bringing in the maximum possible amount from the state. I graduated magna cum laude with a degree in art and have remained friends with the artists in the area. I say this so that you know I've got the experience and certainly the enthusiasm to make this all happen. Every city has murals. The existing one on the wall that was shown in the video is over 20 years old and it looks it. I wanted something nobody else has. I want something that people will write about. So that's why I'm looking to have the changeable art shows. I actually have sponsorship for this entire project, but whether it reaches fruition depends on the number of factors to be determined by you, the City Council. I am excited by this project, and I hope you will be as well. Again, I want to be respectful of your time and of the mayor's wishes, so please call me tomorrow or at your convenience if you'd like to discuss this further. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. the presentation. These are the fun things that we get to do on the city council. Marco, would you please step up here, please? As a sidebar here, before he became a city council member Artemio Villegas was an employee of the Chicos, and so he asked to come up here and join us. So on behalf of the Madera City Council, Marco, for the Chicos Italian restaurant, in recognition of your 50 years, quite a bit, of serving the community of Madera, this presented this day to you on the first day of March, 2023. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
You have something to say to us?
We've been blessed to be here in Madera. Been supported for 50 years. It was difficult during COVID, like for everybody. And I didn't know what we were going to do, but all my employees stuck with us. I made sure that we didn't lose, and we kept them all employed. Josie helped through all of this. She's been with me a long time. And I says, we don't want to start over from scratch when we reopen. I said, we got to keep these people employed. So we found different jobs for them and whatnot, but we've been blessed. I'm so honored to get this, everybody. My daughter's joined the team now to help us out. But anyway, we've been blessed. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it.
He's going to make your lasagna.
Absolutely. He'd come in. He still comes in business.
Marco, can you introduce who's here tonight and have him come up with you?
What's that?
Introduce who's here tonight with you and have him come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got my
Okay,
wife,
come on.
Frances, my daughter, Mia. Josie's the head. She kind of runs the place when I'm in the back. And I don't see what's going on 6th Street. I go in the back door and I'm stuck there all day long. Anyway, her husband and her daughter. Come on up, everybody.
While they're coming up, I just want to thank Marco for 50 years here in the city of Madera, and his wife and his daughter and the rest of the kids for allowing your dad to be a part of our community. And I know he takes away from your family to be there for all of us and to serve us all throughout these years. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
Garcia family. Everybody turn sideways. Everybody turn sideways. Congratulations. Thank you. I'm coming in the woods with Zach.
Thank you for coming tonight. It was hard.
You steal my car.
So when I get up, just get up and go to the podium. So I don't even think about the chair. All right. All right. There are no introductions tonight. There are no workshops. We will now move on to item B, consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, a member of the public or a member of the council may request an item be removed from the consent calendar, and it will be considered separately. Do we have any public comment regarding the consent calendar? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'll bring it back to my colleagues for comments, additions, and corrections. Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Move to approve consent as presented.
Seconded.
Motion to approve the consent calendar by Councilmember Montes, second by Councilmember Gallegos. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, Alicia. We will now move on to item C. There are no public hearings under item C. We will now move on to item D, petitions, bids, resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. Item D1, I believe, is the contract award for 2023 water meter installation project. Mr. Betancourt, do you have this item?
Yes, I do. Can everybody hear me okay?
A little bit louder, please.
Okay, can everybody hear me okay?
Is that ours?
Can you raise the volume?
I'm going to turn it up here, Mayor.
Okay,
I think I
thank you,
forgot to
Alicia.
do that. I'm sorry. There we go.
Okay, is that better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see the screen okay?
Not yet.
No.
You see the screen?
Not yet.
Well, it says I'm sharing. Okay, how's this? How's that?
I think we got it now.
Okay, good. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Steve Betancourt. I'm a senior civil engineer with the engineering department, and I'm the project manager on this project. Tonight, I'm here to present the contract award for the 2023 water meter installation project. The city received an integrated regional water management IRWM grants in the amount of $779,653 for the installation of automatic meter reading AMR water meters in the city. In addition to the grant, additional funds are also programmed in the fiscal year 2022-23 capital project budget. Whoops. These funds are being used for the installation of 3-inch and larger water meters at various locations in the city for this project. There is no fiscal impact on the city's general fund for this project. The project includes the installation of 3-inch up to 10-inch AMR water meters at 46 different locations in the city. All the locations are commercial, institutional, industrial, and multifamily. Many of the locations are older manual read meters that are non-functional or inaccurate. Many of the locations are also unmetered accounts. One of the larger water service locations and users to get metered in this is the Madera County complex at Tozier and Olive. It's also known as the prison complex. There are 4 large water meters that currently are unmetered. To the city's website bidding portal, a solicitation for construction bids was advertised for the 2023 water meter project. 5 bids were received on February 14th, 2023. The lowest bid was deemed non-responsive due to the lack of required bidder documentation. Here's an overview. Kogler Enterprises, they were missing many of the required certifications and affidavits. West Valley Construction was the next, and they were at $923,456. Then there was 2 more bids that were responsive. Lyle's Utility for $1,064,200, and Mid-Cal Pipeline and Utilities for $1,067,239. RT Nelson was unresponsive, as they were also missing many of the required documentation. The engineer's opinion of cost was $784,500, which was considered not quite as accurate as it should have been. Second lowest bid was West Valley Construction Company Incorporated, which submitted all the required bidder documentation and was selected as the lowest responsive and responsible bidder with a price of $923,456. We recommend a typical allowance of 10% of the contract value for contingencies resulting from unknown conditions. Here's a table of the project budget. The construction contract of $923,456, contingencies of 10%, $92,346. Construction, engineering, inspection, and testing is $90,000, bringing the total cost to $1,105,882. The IRWM state grant is $779,653. The contribution from the Water Utility Fund is $326,149, and the available water utility funds for the next phase is $1,128,851. We are recommending adoption of a resolution approving the contract award for the 2023 water meter project, city project number W31, in the amount of $923,456. Are there any questions?
We'll open it up for public comment at this time. Is there any members of the public wishing to comment on this project? Are there any written comments, Alicia?
We have none, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
No one on Zoom. Thank you very much, Mark. We will now close public comment, and I'll bring it back to my colleagues for comment and or questions. Councilmember Montes.
Yeah, thank you for the report, Steve. I'm just curious, I guess, because this is part of what I used to do when I did work for the city. So would this no longer require any manual meter reads? Because I know a lot of these are remote and the size indicates that they're commercial, not residential.
That is correct. They're all remotely read.
So we wouldn't have any more manually read meters, but we would have a few that don't have meters at all.
Well, yeah, for these 46 locations, they will all be automatically read, remotely read. We have another phase of a project coming out that is smaller meters, under 3 inch, that I think it's in the staff report that we hope to get out to bid by the end of the year.
It said those were the ones that were in design phase. So that means that not the location is done, but the installation of the meter is in design phase.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I misread that. My apologies. Okay. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, I will bring it back to council for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Approve D1.
Councilmember Villegas.
Oh, yeah, make a motion to approve it.
D1, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion to approve item D1 by Councilmember Villegas, second by Councilmember Montes. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that report, Mr. Report.
Thank you very much.
We will now move on to item D2, update on the progress of the Madera Transit Plan and request to extend phase 2 of the current agreement with WSP USA to add Task 6 network implementation. Marcela, do you have this report?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Tonight I'm presenting on the update of the progress of the Madera Transit Plan and request to extend phase 2 of the current agreement with WSP USA to add Task 6 network implementation. A brief history on this item. On April 21st, 2021, Council awarded WSP USA Inc. The service agreement for the development of the Madera Transit Plan Services Assessment, MTP. This was recognized as phase 1 of the plan. Due to the complexities of the project, on July 20th, 2022, Council approved a second phase of the agreement with WSP for outreach and implementation of the transit plan. The existing agreement is set to sunset on April 30th, 2023, concluding with the implementation of the newly revised fixed route system. Earlier this year, on January 18, 2023, staff presented an amendment to Council that included 2 additional tasks, increasing the scope of work in the amount of $78,945 $1,000,000.99. The proposed revised scope of work included Task 6, Walmart Bus Terminal Cost Estimate, and Task 7, Network Implementation. During that meeting, Council expressed the following concerns and did not approve the amendment as presented. The concerns include uncertainty with regards to Walmart's response to the city's request, as well as concerns related to the deliverables and the associated costs. Council directed staff to obtain feedback from Walmart and clarify the deliverables. Staff did in fact go back and consult with WSP, the consultant, and a revised cost proposal was delivered to staff. The proposal was revised as follows. Task 6 was eliminated. It was the Walmart Bus Terminal Cost Estimate. There were 2 subtasks for Task 7 that were also either eliminated or modified. 7.2 was removed in its entirety. It was customer communication and outreach. And Task 7.4, there was a reduction in the number of meetings to be held between city staff and the consultants, as well as with MD Inc., our transit operator. This resulted in the proposed revised cost proposal totaling $41,858.30, which is a reduction of $37,087.69 from the original proposal presented to Council on January 18th, 2023. The proposed deliverables in this revised scope of work, there are 3 different deliverables. The reason behind these deliverables and this amendment to the scope of work is because in the existing Phase 2 budget, the budget does not account for consultant support to implement the revised fixed route system. As a result, Task 6 came about. The first deliverable is Task 6.1, which includes the development of 4 route maps, individual route maps, and 1 full network map, along with the route brochure. Task 6.2 includes a comprehensive revision of transit vehicle schedules and timetables for each route. And Task 6.3 refers to staff collaboration with the consultant and MD Inc. to discuss network implementation. The total projected cost with this additional task is $41,858.30. Phase 2 is currently underway, and it costs $87,391.24. This item, as stated, is $41,358.30. There's additional travel costs and resulting in the subtotal of $41,858.30. During the January 18th, 2023 meeting, Council did ask staff to follow up with Walmart. Since then, staff has followed up with Walmart and presented 3 conceptual bus stop designs. On February 21st, 2023, staff received an email response from Walmart staff confirming receipt of the designs and indicating that they will review them. At this time, staff is currently waiting for feedback from Walmart. The projected timeline for Phase 2, currently we are in the September through April phase. We are working to complete or to start working on route implementation. If approved, the implementation phase will continue through June 30th of 2023. We will launch the revised routes effective July 1st, 2023. Staff is recommending Council adopt a resolution approving Amendment Number 1 to the agreement with WSP USA to include the additional Task 6 in the amount of $41,858.30 and extending the term of the agreement to July 31st, 2023. That concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Marcela. Turning to the members of the public for public comment, are there members of the public here wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none. Alicia, do we have any written public comment?
We have none, Mayor.
And I have no one wishing to speak on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mark. We will now close public comment on item D2. I lost my train of thought here. Item D2. And bring it back to my colleagues for questions. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. I just want to thank staff for bringing this item back and more fine tune. And I did have conversations with Marcella about the Walmart stop is really important. Our community is calling and screaming out for that. So I thank you for continuing having those conversations with Walmart and reaching out to them and making sure that we are in communication and a partnership to make sure this happens down the road, but not holding up this project and continuing it until we get that information. So again, thank you, staff, for your diligence with this. Keep at it. And Walmart eventually will get there with us and we will have that stop for this community. Thank you, Mayor.
Right. Seeing no further comments, I will ask my colleagues for a motion on item D2.
I move to approve item D2 as presented the second time.
Second motion.
We had multiples. Can somebody raise their hand? Councilwoman Evans. Motion by Councilmember Montes to approve item D2, second by Councilwoman Evans. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
Yes.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia?
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas?
Yes.
Mayor Garcia?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Marcela, for that report. We will now move on to item E, administrative reports. Item E1, emergency repairs to item 13, sewer trunk main at Granada Drive, update number 3. I believe, Ellen, you have this item?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'll share my screen. So tonight I'm presenting the third update of our emergency project out on Avenue 13 and Road 25. Quick background, the original collapse occurred on January 2nd. We hired Floyd Johnston Construction to make the emergency repairs, and they were on site starting January 9th. At the February 1st meeting, we reported that there was additional damage to the sewer lines and worsened conditions that were increasing costs and causing delays to the repairs. At the last update on February 15th, we reported that Floyd Johnston was making good progress on the repairs, and they continue to make repairs and restoration on our sewer and related facilities. This was a bird's eye view map that I shared on February 15th, showing what was completed to date, and green is completed and yellow, it had not yet been completed. So it was the manhole, the circle on the right side, the manhole, and the 42-inch pipeline, the original collapse, and they had started working and repairing the structure where the 27 joins the 42-inch. And at that point, they had not accessed the casing under the railroad or any of the pipe on the southwest side. So this is an update to what has been completed. Anything in bold is new from our last report. So in addition to the 42-inch that of the original collapse that has been installed, they have removed the failed 27-inch and the debris from under the railroad. They've installed the new pipeline in the casing, and they've removed and replaced about 110 feet of the 27-inch sewer main that was heading west on Pecan that showed that it was in equally as bad condition. And in order for us to perform the pumping operations, it became necessary that we were going to have to replace that component as well. So similarly, the bird's eye view map now shows what is currently completed. So I've filled in the square where they continue to make progress on that very large structure. It shows the pipeline installed under the railroad tracks, a circle for a new manhole, and you can see the green line. And this is as of today. So I was out there and got the latest report. They are approaching our end point here where if you can see those blue squares are the pumps. We are going to have to install another manhole, so that's shown there in yellow, where the new pipe is going to meet the old pipe. I thought I would share some detailed photos. Again, this is on the left is the bird's eye view, and the square that they're working on. There's a expanded photo of them working on that structure. This was taken today. They're pouring the concrete. It's an 8-foot by 11-foot structure footprint, and it is actually 12 foot tall. So they're on the top of it, and the bottom of it is 12 feet below that. And if you can tell up at the top of the picture, here's the chain link fencing protecting the site. So it shows you how deep and the conditions we've been working in. The rain didn't help, but they were able to pump out the site today and keep working. On the other side of the railroad tracks on the west side, this is taken today of them working on that pipe that they're replacing. The photo on the right, they're compacting over the pipe that was installed. And then the photo on the left is, you can see where they've excavated down to remove the old pipe, and they're getting ready to place the new pipe. So there's a lot of big equipment out there right now. The next steps, looking towards completion, of course, it's testing and inspecting the new pipeline. We need to finish those new structures. The critical milestone is removing the bypass pumping. Once we've got that in place, then we can move forward with the railroad coming and setting their signal and restoring the roadway. And I just am noting an update. The previous report I had projected mid-March, and it's looking like it's closer to the end of March before the roadway will be open again. Our costs so far creeping up. They're not exponentially growing like they did a few reports ago, but we're hovering around 1.5 million. We have calculated costs based on submittals from the contractor of about 1.1 million as of mid-February. And just wanted to note that the average daily cost for pumping is about $11,500. Just so we are pushing the contractor, and I think the contractor, as much as they love working for us, they want to get out of here and go to their regularly scheduled work as well. There, again, is no action tonight, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Is there any public comment regarding the Avenue 13 trunk line? Is there any written public comment?
We have none, Mayor.
And no one on Zoom.
Thank you very much, Mark. We will close public comment. Do any of my colleagues have a question on this update? Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. I don't know if this is for our city manager or Alan. When we first put this out to the community, we said we didn't realize we kept hitting more not so great news down the road, but we told them a month and a half. Now we're looking more than a month. Is it possible that we're putting something out to let them know if we said April, that's a safe kind of bet that this construction will be done and the road will be open?
I think we have been putting out our regular traffic closure notices and updating that as it keeps pushing out. So we could fairly state, April, I think end of March, early April, for being fully open to the public, barring anything else that might come our way. We don't expect any more unknowns, but I don't know. The weather has been interesting in the last few weeks.
Is it possible to get in contact with Madera Unified? They have a parent square where they do all their communications to every parent that has a student in the district, where we just let them know, especially the schools take that route to come around Granada to kind of defer the traffic from Madera South, Alpha, and Madison. So if that would be something that we could do, I think that would help us. It's just to have that communication and get it out to our parents out there. That is basically our community members.
certainly we can reach out to the school district and give them an update, and they can distribute that accordingly.
Perfect. Thank you.
Seeing no further comments on this item, we will now move on to item.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind if I have a question for Ellen?
Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'm sorry that if I don't raise my hand, I'll just try to speak up if you don't mind. Ellen, you mentioned that there may be some unknowns. So my question to you is, and I'm not sure if you answer this, but in having these temporary pumps or lift stations that continue to pressurize these trunk lines, is there any potential of possible damage down the road by the temporary pumps that are pumping down these trunk lines?
The only potential area that I see where we could run into trouble is where the existing 27-inch on pecan meets the new pipe that we're laying down. Once we pull out the pumps, the flow is going to be in an all new pipe. So I don't see it surcharging in that area. It would only be if we, encountered similar surcharges like at the beginning of the project, and we are doing our due diligence to try and identify any problem areas, but sometimes they let us know where they are before we get to them. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, so back to the surcharge. So you don't see any additional surcharges from here to where the projected trunk line or the installation of the newer trunk line, any surcharges that may cause some damage?
I don't. I can check in with the contractor to see what their experience has been when they demobilize from a site like this. I was checking with them regarding the storms we had last night to see if they saw increased flow and were they ready to receive any additional waters, and they handled it fine down there.
Perfect. So you said due diligence. So as soon as we patch up this whole thing that we have going here, do we run some tests to make sure that since we're there, we're dug up, we got all these repairs done, do we do some type of test on those lines so that we're not filling it back up to kind of find out that, hey, we didn't anticipate this, but here's what happened after we closed it all up?
For as much as we can access the pipe, we will do testing, air testing. It's a air pressure test, and that would identify if there was any problems with the seals. We'll also run a video down the newly installed pipe and manholes. And then we can continue to video our existing pipes that are tying into this system to determine if we need to shuffle priorities. But you will see in this next CIP process a few more projects moving up to the front of the line on this corridor.
Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate you answering the question. Mm-hmm. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now close item E1 and move on to item E2, Yosemite Avenue funding and grant application updates. Mr. Helmuth, do you have this item?
Keith, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Keith, I believe you're on mute.
I apologize. I have to unshare so I can spot my ability to unmute. Okay, I think I've got it now.
Yes.
Okay, this is item E2, Yosemite Avenue funding and grant updates. A little bit of background. Council's considered multiple reports in the last several months. The most with regard to the Yosemite Avenue project by Caltrans. The most recent being February 15th, which is our last meeting, wherein staff provide council an opportunity to consider other grant opportunities that may assist in implementing certain improvements from the state Route 145 Yosemite Avenue to downtown, or Yosemite Avenue as downtown Main Street plan. I'll try to go ahead and refer to that as only as plan as we move through this. Council elected at that time to pursue rebuilding the American infrastructure with sustainability and equity, the RAISE grant. that was already in progress, assuming that we might not be successful in reconnecting communities pilot grant, the RCP for short. If the RCP grant was successful, staff was asked to attempt shifting the raised application towards D Street and then towards C Streets, depending upon our ability to fund and work through that opportunity. If the RCP is successful and staff was alerted at the 11th hour, say the bullet just before this was the assumption that we received a good response the next morning. This last bullet is if we were successful and received a positive response several days later, and it was getting progressively more difficult to pursue a grant, then we might move to something like sidewalk improvements. The purpose of this meeting was to provide status update relative to those grants, the RCP and the RAISE, and consider direct allocation of transportation funding for the purposes of ensuring the Caltrans project includes certain minimum improvements from the State Route 145 Yosemite as a downtown Main Street plan. That would be the plan again. What we have on the grant updates, with regard to reconnecting communities, the RCP, we did receive a notice yesterday of successful grant awards. The city of Madera was not included on that. Fortunately, we were not included. So we now know that the RAISE grant is the next up in our opportunity to go ahead and secure funding for assistance in the Caltrans project. Council has previously been open to applying as much as $1 million in assistance to secure grants that would advance the plan improvements. The question for tonight is, does council wish to apply additional funds towards direct payment to Caltrans to implement certain improvements? And if so, how much? At present, staff can identify as much as $2.7 million in local transportation funds. We usually refer to that as LTF, but anyway, it's $2.7 million in carryovers from previous years, and about $400,000 in additional LTF revenue that was not previously envisioned. This comes up to about $3.1 million. In addition to that, there may be some potential to apply regional surface transportation program funds, also known as RSTP. The impacts or risks of shifting LTF or RSTP funds are known projects in the CIP that are not funded or may need additional funds. We may not be able to go ahead and transfer those funds or use those funds on Almond Avenue if it needs funding. Lake Street is another project in the CIP that's been there for some time. It's a relatively expensive project. It's short funds, and it would not likely receive these additional funds for some time. Then possible other projects that we might add to the CIP, for instance, the Howard and Pine storm drain, with regard to flooding around Howard and Pine. As well as a Sunset MID pipe that MID is proposing to transfer to the city. If we elected to go ahead and fund any of those improvements, these other funds might assist in those costs. The Yosemite Avenue project, while directing funds to Yosemite represents a potential impact to other projects, council may wish to consider Yosemite pretty much the same as any other project. Council is given opportunities to consider capital projects every year. We have an annual meeting where we present the various different capital projects that staff has considered that council might wish to review and approve. So this is not really much different than any other capital project. If funding is directed to Yosemite, there would be a process that I've taken a few minutes to think about how it would occur. One of the items would be to go ahead and include the Yosemite Avenue project in our CIP. It would be also presented as part of the annual presentation to council. Staff would work with Caltrans to determine the funding requirements for the plan improvements. Priority would be given to those improvements at Caltrans that we don't think Caltrans would allow to be constructed after their project is completed. One of those examples that I mentioned last meeting was widening the sidewalks in Yosemite. Anytime you try to add something to a roadway, it usually involves cutting of the surface. That cutting could be as simple as marring the roadway. It could be as problematic as allowing intrusion of water into the base. That's one of the reasons Caltrans might not wish to consider adding that to allowing that to occur afterward. So that would be, if council wished to proceed with that, might be where we dedicate funds from dedicate city transportation funds for getting something done that we probably could not do at a later date. We would also be preparing a resolution or agreement with Caltrans, affirming to Caltrans that the funds would be available. Much like the grant opportunities, they would like to see something that says that if they design it, there will be funds available. So I see it either as a resolution or probably an agreement. And also, we would, if council elects to designate funds towards the project, we would still be seeking fund or grant opportunities such as RAISE. That would still be out there. We might seek other grant opportunities. If Caltrans isn't constructing their project for about 2 years or so, and we have the ability to be successful in any grant award, we might be able to apply those grant awards towards the Caltrans project and revert the funds that council may elect to dedicate to that. This is a list of possible projects that would be added to the Caltrans project, or amenities that would be added. I've rejiggered them a little bit since the last meeting. I attempted to go ahead and put the ones that council might have the greatest objection to building at a later date. For instance, the wider sidewalks, cutting the pavement, improved drainage. When you push the sidewalks out or the curb into the street, you might have some impacts. Decorative street lighting. The lights sound relatively simple, except we have to have foundations for those lights, and those can damage the sidewalk and possibly the street, depending upon what is left to be done later. We would probably need to go ahead and install new conduits for electrical. High visibility crosswalks with stamped concrete. Those would probably require cutting of the asphalt. Rectangular flashing beacons. Now we're starting to move into things that can be done after the fact, separate grants, safety grants, hardscape improvements, if those are within the sidewalk areas. Saw cuts of the sidewalk are not as big a deal. And then street furniture, that's a lot of things that you just bolt down and you're done with them. And then possibly other improvements. Tonight's action, consider the discussion relative to the potential assignment of transportation funding toward plan improvements that were proposed as part of the RCP grant application. As a reminder, the grant application did come up with about $3.5 million worth of improvements. One of the things that we think we know is Caltrans received a grant for about $700,000 for landscaping and the like. If it is possible that some of that money may reduce the ask that we had on the grant from about 3.5 million to something less than that. And then the recommended action is to provide direction regarding this funding discussion. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Keith. Are there any members of the public wishing to ask questions regarding the Yosemite Avenue project? Seeing none, do we have any written comments, Alicia?
We have none.
If you would like to make a comment, you're welcome to make a comment. Well, come on up, brother. Up here at the podium, because we have to record you.
You know, a lot of the items that the gentleman just listed are paramount to the revitalization of downtown. And a lot of it is the sidewalks. And as a property owner, as a business owner downtown previously, you have a tendency to get bounced around every time you go to something with the sidewalks, you know. They say, well, does Caltrans on the sidewalks? Or does the city on the sidewalks? Or does the property owner on the sidewalks? So I've even been told before, just if you have problems with the sidewalks, you just do it at night or do it on a Sunday. Make sure your cement guys get over there and get it done, and then don't worry about it. You know, so it's a heck of a way to do business. And I know some of the property downtown need extensive sidewalk repairs because there's old skylights along the old bank. There's skylights, so it's going to be real expensive. So if you don't get it done now, you know, hey, you know how Caltrans is. So I hope you'll do whatever you can to make sure that the financing and all goes through for all of the projects that the Downtown Association's been working on for like 20 years. Looks like we have a great opportunity to get downtown Madera in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, we'll close public comment, and I'll bring it back to my colleagues for questions. Keith, do you have any?
I do have one response to the gentleman that was just at the podium. The particular funding that we were speaking about is to widen the sidewalks, which would be to push the sidewalk into the street a bit. This funding is not intended to correct any other deficiencies with regard to the sidewalks themselves.
Absolutely.
Thank you for letting me come. My name is John Barsotti. I've been involved with the Downtown Association since 1990. Been a long time. So I'm not sure why you'd want to make the sidewalks wider, except for more place for people to be during the parade. There is not that much traffic down there that we need wider sidewalks. It seems to me that if the sidewalk was 4 or 5 feet narrower, 3 or 4 maybe, that there'd be more room for the traffic on the street. So why would we want to make the sidewalk wider? Question.
I can go ahead and answer that question or work towards the answer. The reason the sidewalks have been proposed to be widened is to go ahead and allow for greater pedestrian access to downtown and potentially allow businesses to have more opportunities to move into the street, potentially with dining or things like that. It would potentially allow more opportunity for street furniture or artwork to be placed. Some of this is about creating a sense of community in the downtown area.
Well, I guess maybe you need to get permission from the Caltrans. The history that we've had down there is that they wouldn't even allow a sidewalk sale because they consider it part of the right of way. And I'm just being realistic. I can't imagine more traffic, foot traffic downtown. I just cannot imagine that. Most people gone to big box stores, build a community on wider sidewalks. Personally, I think it's probably going to be a waste of concrete. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? And I'll bring it back to my colleagues for comments and or questions. Councilmember Montes.
So, Keith Arnaldo, I guess this is a question for kind of both of you. So right now, what we're asking is for essentially $1 to $3 million what we want to allocate. And then do you need the decision on exactly what projects we want? Because it sounds like Keith listed the projects that will probably be impacted if we are not successful with the RAISE grant. If say we go 3 million, right? That's about the high end that you're talking about today. We go through 1 million, we're not successful with the RAISE grant. We've already obligated those dollars. with the contract to Caltrans, say, we're going to make these $3 million available. If something happens down the line, then we're not going to be able to do the, I think, 4 projects that you talked about. But do you need the projects today, or is that something, because I know the last one was other projects that the city manager approves, or is that something that, say, allocate the dollars today and then we kind of go back, or would you prefer that we say today, out of the list of the 10, we pick 11 of them?
I think that you can. I think that you can tell staff whatever you would like to with regard to that. But let me give you an example. If you elected to go ahead and apply $3 million towards the project, there's a good chance that just about every improvement that is in the plan that Caltrans would find objectionable to building after the main project, there's a good chance that they would be able to build all of those things. Now, if council elected to stick with $1 million, then that might mean that it's most certainly mean that we would get with Caltrans and say, we have $1 million. What do you think that can do for the project? And then under that circumstance, staff would appreciate direction in terms of what is the thing that they most would like to have. Is that the wider sidewalks? Is that landscaping, or between 1 and 3 items? And we worked through that, and it would be my hope that we could potentially revisit council in a couple weeks, and if we had to go ahead and start to tie some of that down. I know that Caltrans has been indicating that they really want to move forward with their work on the design. They have not put a line in the sand there. So I'm hoping we have like a month to go ahead and come up with some of this stuff.
Okay. Okay. That makes it a little bit easier. So I guess if we can have one decision or multiple decisions. So if we say 3, then like you said, it covers pretty much everything on that list. And if we say less, then we have to make some decisions. All right. So I'll let my colleagues ask questions, or I think we wanted to get the most bang for our buck, and then replenishing those dollars. So the raise grant is not the only grant that we can go after, right? You're saying that it could be a couple years before we actually get into building, would have to actually expend those dollars. Is that?
Yes, something like that. There, as an example, there was another grant that we talked about, and I'm looking for the particular name for it.
That one, right? That was the guarantee from Keith.
For sure.
So I guess not.
The other grant that was similar to the RCP grant that we're looking at is the Reconnecting Communities Highways to Boulevards grant. We last meeting we said we did not know when they were going to be releasing that one, and depending upon how things work out, I thought that I'm just confirming myself here.
And I guess there's no issue with saying, okay, we're going to allocate, say we do 3 million, we're going to allocate 3 million, and then a year from now, the other Boulevard grant comes up and say, we want to do this, but it's the same projects that we've already allocated the money for. Would there be an issue saying we're going to take this money back and use it for the other things and then move this money in? There wouldn't be an issue there, right? I guess I'm looking at Hilda. So Hilda, that's a question for you.
There wouldn't be an issue per se. You would have to follow some procedures, and
so we can do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. So, okay, Keith, let me see if I get this. If we allocate $3 million and you put here impact and risk, if we allocate that, then the risk are these other projects won't get done. Is that correct?
Well, it would more than likely mean that some projects are delayed. Projects are reprioritized depend upon our annual CIP meeting. As an example, the Lake Street project, that was at the top of the list for a while. Then it was moved down on the list in favor of the Almond Avenue project. The Almond Avenue is the highest priority right now, and we would be seeking to go ahead and ensure that project would be funded. I think it's fairly close to being fully funded right now, but there is some question about all of it at this point.
So that's my question, because that is exactly what I was going to say, is that Almond Avenue punch through is very important to this community to make sure that happens, because there's just impact of traffic. It's crazy over there. And for access to this community is important. So for me to say as a council member to allocate money for this other project when the Almond Avenue, like you say, is almost fully funded, I would need to know how much of the funding would have to go to this project that we're talking about on Yosemite Avenue that would not affect the Almond Avenue project.
Okay, I think I'm seeing Ellen looking through the CIP to go ahead and give you a better idea. Am I correct, Ellen?
Yes, Keith, I pulled up that particular project, the Almond Avenue, in the current CIP, and with a budget figure of 6.6 million, it is shown as fully funded in the CIP. If there are cost increases that and the budget increases, then we would be looking for the additional funds from several sources. So that's, as far as that particular project, that's how it would be impacted.
Okay, and so the next question would be, you put on impact and risk the Howard and Pine storm drain, that if we were to fully give the $3 million for this project on Yosemite, the Howard and Pine storm drain is like an emergency thing that's happening in our city where businesses are shutting down because we have issues there. And so it's not on the CIPs. It's something we need to put on the CIPs, something that needs to be on a priority list, high on that priority list. So would that also be taken away if we fully funded this Yosemite project of $3 million?
That's a bit more complicated. That particular project to fund it in full is somewhere we looked at the budget here in the last day now, and to go ahead and get everything that we need out of that, it's probably closer to $10 million.
Wow.
So anything that we do, that council might do as part of this, it's not likely to have a short-term impact on that project. I to some degree, I showed extremes in there. Almond Avenue is possibly. Lake Street is most certainly a delayed, and then the Pine and Howard is can't really predict it because we're so short on the funding at this moment. For Pine and Howard, we need to secure grants, I would say.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. And Keith, thank you again for taking the time to look into the projects that can potentially help fund this. So, Keith, one question that I do have for you on that list that you provided, how many of those projects from the original Reconnecting Communities grant are essential that Caltrans can do prior, that won't be able to do after? How much of that money would you say was allocated from that RCP grant?
I wish I could go ahead and tie that down. I wish I could tie that down. There's probably at least a couple $1 million in projects. Caltrans is on their own. They added a lot of improvements that were in the RCP, in the plan. And for instance, roundabouts have shown up. They're showing the medians and the possibility of landscaping. So, I don't have detailed engineer's estimates. Wider sidewalks is it's like two segments of the street, E to B and A to high. That's a fair amount. Landscaping, I'd go ahead and put it at $2 million, but we haven't figured it out. I'd need Caltrans right now to go ahead and start laying it out more specifically. I can go into the plan that was prepared by Mark Thomas and go to a spreadsheet that they have, but it's really an approximation, at least for me right now at this meeting. We will get better numbers.
Yeah, and I really appreciate that, because in this way, my colleagues can certainly get an idea of what it really, just to get that core of what was on that Mark Thomas report. But the other question that I have, Keith, is at this time, I know that we're trying to narrow down what funds we're going to use, because the design process needs to be completed by the end of the year, although this project will not commence for another 2-3 years, correct?
I believe that they are planning to award in, I don't know, about November 2024. So it'd be like 2 years of construction.
Yes. So within those 2 years, my understanding is that there's other sources of funding that we can certainly find. At this time, I think you've identified some of the capital improvement projects that certainly we can move some money around. That there's still a ways out, such as Lake Street. Not sure again on that Olive or the Elman project that you have there. But I certainly would think that if we didn't fund some of the improvements that were part of the Mark Thomas, which I believe are the core of this whole project. I know that a gentleman that spoke earlier about why sidewalks get any larger. Well, I mean, if you have a road diet, you're going to do that anyway. So you might as well make it more pedestrian friendly, and you add the amenities that go with the report to be able to bring downtown and make it a very live downtown. I mean, I get the fact that the road diet would just narrow the road, but I mean, a downtown isn't a downtown without the other amenities that are part of that Mark Thomas project. And that, I'll go back to what a lot of the community that was engaged in what they brought up. And I believe that this is a good opportunity, and I still think we have time. I will say that in the last meeting, praying for a Hail Mary that the reconnecting communities would make its way through so that we wouldn't have to worry about this. But I will say that California ended up with about $34 million of this highly competitive grant, of which $30 million of that funding went to Long Beach. Only Fresno was the other closer area that received less than $1 million. So it was a very highly competitive grant. I still think we have a really good opportunity with reconnecting communities on highway to boulevards and the RAIDS grant to be able to allocate some of those funds in the future. But this would be an opportunity for us to really take this project and improve it. And to the gentleman's point earlier, Caltrans has always been reluctant to do anything like this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where they're amenable to widening these sidewalks. So I would ask my colleagues to consider the fact that if we can pull this money somehow, and hopefully with the funding that comes in with these other grants, we may be able to supplement the other projects that are in dire need as well. So one of the questions that I have for you there, do we have any at-risk design that we can do in case, can we push Caltrans to help us with this, assuming that, we don't get the funding? Can we get some type of design just in any case that we don't get this funding and the city does not approve this?
Caltrans would be moving in one direction on the design. It almost sounded like you were saying an alternate, or am I correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it's fairly costly to go ahead and do alternate plans, so it would be all or nothing, in my opinion. You pick the direction and you head that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you guys done a really good job of identifying some of these funds where like you said, Caltrans has also identified other funds that have less than the amount that we have to come in with. And I feel like this is just a good opportunity for us to try to allocate some of these funds to make this happen. This is a project in the making for many, many years. I think we owe it to the community to at least give it an opportunity, and hopefully we can get these other grants. I will tell you that with my
you'll have to repeat that, Mr. Rodriguez.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Could you just repeat the last two sentences?
I said I will say that part of my lobbying today with the at the state capitol was identifying other additional sources of funding for a project like downtown Yosemite, State Route 145. So I did bring that out to all the state Congress people that we talked to today. So I hope that my colleagues will feel the same way and continue to move on this on a positive note and see if we can get most of that design process completed. And those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. I concur that I believe that we've been working for many, many, many years on the Yosemite Avenue project. Caltrans is finally agreeing to invest in our community and improve downtown Madera. And they're looking at the road diet, which is unconditional for them. They need a road diet. By providing a road diet, we're able to fix up downtown. The wider sidewalks are for, if you notice during COVID, and people and the businesses wanted to have their wares and have coffee and tables on the sidewalks, it's impossible because if you as soon as you put a couple of chairs on there, then the pedestrians don't have a right of way. And so if we make wider sidewalks, because we're going to do a road diet anyway, I think that's a wise decision on our part to continue with that. I believe that this $3 million approximate is a good investment for us. It's a once in a lifetime. Finally, we're getting Caltrans to partner with us. And I think we need to take advantage of it. To my colleagues' points, this is not an immediate thing. This money that we're going to invest is going to take a while to come to fruition as far as the projects are concerned. And it would not impact these other ones because really these other projects that we're talking about are a lot more money. And so I would support a motion to invest the monies that we have so that we can move forward with this project and not have Caltrans pull out, or we're going to only improve a couple of things on Yosemite Avenue. That's my position. Any more further comments from my colleagues? And I'll entertain a motion.
If you made that motion, Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion. And I do thank you for making sure that you highlight the issue with the sidewalks that Caltrans, because of the road diet, will allow and is amendable to that widening of those sidewalks to make it more pedestrian friendly, as we spoke about that earlier.
Thank you. And so up to $3 million in funds by the city of Madera to invest in downtown Madera. And you made a second? Mr. Rodriguez?
I did make that second, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion to approve up to $3 million under item E2 for Yosemite Avenue improvement. Alicia, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Gallegos?
I just had a question before we vote. The $3 million is coming from where?
$3 million is coming from rollover funds on LTF. It hadn't previously been programmed.
Okay, then yes.
And I'm sorry, I apologize. I should have checked in sooner, but before the motion was being voted on. But I just want to clarify that right now it's direction because you don't have any specifics in your agenda. So it's direction. So if this motion passes, staff will come back with a resolution articulating what you want.
Okay.
So that was Councilmember Gallegos?
For the motion,
give it to direction.
Thank you for direction. Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilmember Montes?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes, for direction.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia,
Yes.
Councilmember Villegas,
Yes.
Mayor Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
All right. Improvement of the downtown Madera. We will now move on to item F. These are council member reports and announcements, future agenda items. This portion of the meeting is reserved for the mayor and council members to make brief reports on boards, committees, and other public agencies and at public events, to request updates, to initiate future agenda items, and to take action on matters initiated under this section of the agenda. Under this section, the council may take action only on items specifically agendized and which meet other requirements for action. Councilwoman Gallegos.
Thank you, Mayor. First thing I'd like to thank Joe, our Parks Director, for making it here safe from his long trip, having a hard time trying to get back here with this weather. So prayed for his safety, and he's here back with us. So thank you for blessing us with your presence today. I wanted to thank the Boy Scout troop that was here today. They had to leave. I'm sure they have homework, but in order to receive a patch, they have to attend civic meetings like this. So this is probably kind of why they were here tonight. It is Read Across America this next few days. So if you have some time, get into school and read to some students, or just read to your grandchildren, nieces or nephews, or your own kids, and spread the love of reading is the key to life. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank the council and our legal counsel for making it possible for me to attend this meeting remotely. I know under AB 2449, I appreciate the fact that I could exercise the provision under the just cause. So thank you. Second, I am in a trip that was mainly a legislative trip out here under the MCTC on behalf of the city as well, advocating for transportation dollars, and more specific to Highway 99, finishing that patch there between Avenue 12 and 7, and possibly extending that on the north side from 17 to 21. Obviously, you know that Madera suffers these bottleneck effects sometimes when people are traveling north and south. So that's always a good thing for us to be able to advocate for our city and for our community. But I do want to mention that I was able to speak to a lot of the legislators that were there, from Assemblywoman Soria, Senator Caballero's staff, Mr. Patterson and his staff, and also Senator Rivas Gill. And again, emphasizing on State Route 145. For me, it's a big passion of mine to make sure that we can revive downtown and also do whatever we can to find funding for this particular project. I want to let you know that I'm almost here, arriving in Merced. I figured that this would probably go a little longer, so I didn't want to park somewhere. So thank you for making yourself amenable and taking me in remotely. But those are my comments, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Councilmember Montes.
Nothing to report.
Councilmember Evans.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Council. I want to say that I was blessed to be able to be inducted into the African American Cultural and Historical Museum last Friday night, and I want to thank the city of Madera for coming out. There was 560 people there, and Madera showed up and showed out. So thank you very much. Also, we had our Black History celebration. And again, I want to thank Madera Police Department, the Sheriff Department, Highway Patrol, the new regime of the NAACP 1084, Madera Unified School, Madera County, Madera Housing Authority, and also we honored Marcella Andrews. And it was awesome to have so many people. We had 100 chairs, and there was still probably about an extra 50 people standing. So it's growing every year. Thank you to the city of Madera. Thank you to my colleagues for continuing to just be supportive of everything that's going on in our city. And God bless each and every one of you. And please go home safe and pray that the rain kind of ceases, because it's a lot. It's a lot. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Mejia.
Thank you, Mayor. I was glad to be a part of local Black History Month events, including Councilmember Evans's event this month. Also, the Madera Coalition had a Black History Month event this past weekend. Great turnout. And I also watched a solo performance by Joshua Slack in Fresno. The performance is called Code Switch, and working to hopefully bring it to Madera with the Penn Valley Institute. It was, like I say, it was very impactful because he walked us through what it's like living as a Black person in America. And hopefully we get to see it here in Madera as well. On Thursday, March 9th, there's going to be an International Women's Day celebration in the lecture hall of the Matilda Torres High School. The community is invited to celebrate International Women's Day. And I believe that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilmember Villegas.
Thank you, Mayor Santos Garcia. I just want to say thank you to Anita for the good presentation for the African American celebration. One more year, so keep on going. It's a good event, you know. So I just want to let you know that the council member that I worked for the Marco family, Santa Femia, owners of the Chicos for 2 years. I know the whole family, so I was treated very good as a worker over there. I told Marco, "You're still my boss," and so I know his mom, his dad, his sister, the whole family. He used to send me to Fresno, go do this with my brothers over there in the other restaurants, so this and this and that. Come back and do this. So I was up and down. So for me, it's still my friend, and he considered me as a friend too. So that's why I was very happy about recognition of the 50 years anniversary in the business. So that's my report.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And Councilmember Villegas, I do not have anything to report. I'm very happy that we're ending this meeting in roughly an hour and 40 minutes. This might be a record for us. This meeting, there are no closed sessions this evening. This meeting will be adjourned at 7:37 tonight. I want to thank everybody who came and participated. Our next meeting dates are March the 15th of 2023 and Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. Thank you very much, and you have a good evening.